Hello viewers, welcome to Newsweek South Asia, where we will provide you fresh insights into South Asia's geopolitical, strategic and security situation. Let's take a look at the headlines first. Pakistan's hypocrisy exposed. Terror groups dominate Kashmir Solidarity Day event in POJK. New Delhi World Book Fair highlights religious persecution and Islamic militancy in Bangladesh. And ICC seeks arrest warrants for top Taliban leaders over crimes against Afghan women. Pakistan's hypocrisy stands exposed once again. On Kashmir Solidarity Day, Islamabad put up its usual facade of supporting Kashmiris, but the reality was far more sinister. A public event in Rawalkot POJK saw the open participation of terror outfits Jaish-e-Mohammad and Lashkar-e-Taiba groups designated as terrorists by the UN and the US. As Pakistan claims to stand for Kashmir, it continues to harbour and glorify extremists. Meanwhile, protests in London by Kashmiri activists led bare Pakistan's oppressive policies and terror sponsorship. Pakistan's so-called Kashmir Solidarity Day has once again exposed the country's duplicity in the name of Kashmir. Under the guise of supporting the people of Jammu and Kashmir, Islamabad continues to provide a platform for terrorism. The latest proof: a public event in Rawalkot, Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, attended by members of UN-designated terror groups Jaish-e-Mohammad and Lashkar-e-Taiba. Held at the Shaheed Sabir Stadium, the event showcased Pakistan's deep-rooted ties with terrorism as extremist leaders openly rallied under banners of Kashmir Solidarity and Al-Aqsa Food, a reference to Hamas military campaign in Gaza. Pakistan annually observes Kashmir Solidarity Day on February 5th, projecting itself as a defender of Kashmiri rights. But in reality, it uses the occasion to propagate anti-India rhetoric and incite violence. While terror outfits were being glorified in Rawalkot, thousands of Kashmiris and activists in London took to the streets, exposing Pakistan's lies. The United Kashmir People's National Party held a powerful protest outside the Pakistan High Commission denouncing Islamabad's illegal occupation of POJK and Gilgit-Baltistan. Protesters accused Pakistan of waging a proxy war while oppressing the very people it claims to represent.
हिंदू देश मूवमेंट की तरफ से इस 5 फरवरी के ड्रामे को रद्द करते हुए कश्मीरियों की आज़ादी का मुतालबा करता हूं। दोस्तों और साथियों, इस पाकिस्तानी आर्मी ने 1947 में राजा हरी सिंह पर हमला करके, उसकी हुकूमत पर हमला करके 22 फरवरी को कब्जा किया था, जो अब तक चलता आ रहा है। ये पंजाबी आर्मी, पाकिस्तानी आर्मी कभी मजहब के नाम पर, कभी पाकिस्तान के नाम पर, कभी कौम के नाम पर कौमों को गुलाम बनाती आई है। ये कब्जा 1947 पर कश्मीरियों से चलते हुए सिंधियों, बलोचों, पश्तूनों पर ये कब्जा चलता आ रहा है।
The reality in POJK and Gilgit-Baltistan tells a very different story from Pakistan's false narrative. Decades of occupation have left the region in ruins. Poverty is rampant, unemployment is soaring, and basic rights are denied. The recent wave of protests against high wheat prices and rising electricity bills reflects growing anger among locals who see Pakistan's policies as nothing more than colonial exploitation. Even the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, touted as a development project, has fueled resentment. The region's resources are being looted while locals remain deprived.
5 फरवरी है क्या? ये सिर्फ एक ड्रामा है, ये सिर्फ एक ड्रामा है। तो जमात इस्लामी की मां पर हमारे ऊपर थोपा गया, हमारे साथ हमारे मासूम लोगों को ये इस चीज़ में डाला गया कि हम आपके साथ यौम यकजहती कश्मीर बना रहे हैं। असल में ये हमारे साथ यौम यकजहती कश्मीर नहीं बना रहे, ये हमारे वसाइल पे कब्जा करने की एक साजिश है जिसको हम बेनकाब करते आए हैं और करते रहेंगे इंशाअल्लाह। जहाँ तक बात है हमारे वसाइल की, सबसे बड़ी वजह हमको गुलाम बनाने की ये पाकिस्तान आर्मी की सोच है कि कश्मीर के वसाइल पे कब्जा किया जाए। कश्मीर एक सोने का अंडा देने वाली मुर्गी है जिसको ये शर्माना बनाना चाहते हैं।
As the world watches, Pakistan's mask is slipping. While it claims to champion Kashmir's cause, its actions prove otherwise. With protests growing louder and voices of dissent gaining strength, Islamabad is being forced to confront the truth. It is the oppressor, not the liberator. Pakistan now stands as a crossroads, facing a reckoning for both within and outside its borders. The people of POJK, Gilgit-Baltistan and the global Kashmiri diaspora are sending a clear message. Enough is enough. Jammu and Kashmir remains under siege, not from within, but due to Pakistan's relentless support for terrorism. Once again, unarmed civilians have fallen victim to targeted assassinations by Pakistan-backed terror groups. The increasing brutality of these attacks raises urgent concerns about Pakistan's role in perpetuating violence and destabilizing the region. The latest horrifying incident in Kulgam, where a retired army man was gunned down and his family members injured, underscores the ongoing threat. Our report delves into this brutal attack and its far-reaching implications.
Pakistan-sponsored terror outfits continue their bloodthirsty rampage in Jammu and Kashmir, mercilessly targeting innocent civilians in an attempt to paralyze the region with fear. In the latest attack, terrorists opened fire on retired army personnel Manzoor Ahmed Waghe, his wife and his niece outside their home in Behi Bagh area of Kulgam district. Waghe succumbed to his injuries while being rushed to the hospital, while his family members remain critical.
मैं घर में सोया हुआ था, मैं दौड़ के गाड़ी के पास गया, मैंने सोचा कहीं बच्चे को चोट नहीं आई, यहाँ पे हमारे घर में बहुत बच्चे हैं। तो मैं जब वहाँ पे पहुँचा तो इसको गोली लगी हुई थी। मैंने इसको गाड़ी में भर दी और कैंप पे ले लिया। तो फिर फौज वालों ने मरहबा शुक्रिया विभाग के सीओ साहब को, इसने इसको रेफर किया कुलगाम में या इस अनंतनाग में। तो इसका ट्रीटमेंट हुआ था, तो मगर ये अल्लाह का भरोसा नहीं था, ये बच नहीं सका।
Intelligence sources confirmed that these terrorists received direct logistical and financial support from across the border. Pakistan's notorious ISI continues to harbor and fund these jihadist outfits, allowing them to infiltrate Indian territory and carry out systematic massacres. Experts believe these killings are part of a broader Pakistani strategy to disrupt peace and hinder economic progress in Jammu and Kashmir.
These people are giving a warning to the Kashmiris who are trying to help the armed forces or Indian government in maintaining law and order. They are being warned, and this is the example, and it is this is umpteenth example. So many have happened before that, and they have a very easy access to enter the border, and they're entering. Why? Because we are not sealing the border. Sealing the border means they are coming across the border from 8 to 9 to 10 kilometers is their camps, where the army, Pakistan army, is handling them and launching them.
The latest attack has triggered widespread public outrage. People in Jammu and Kashmir have taken to the streets, condemning Pakistan's unrelenting export of terror and demanding decisive military action. Protests have erupted in multiple districts including Baramulla, Bandipora, Anantnag and Shopian, with residents calling for justice and stronger counter-terror operations.
ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा दुख की बात है कि हमारे जवान आज तक जान देते रहे हमारे देश के लिए, हमारी इस धरती के लिए, और हम उनके लिए बिल्कुल कुछ भी न कर पाए। आज ये छोटा सा स्टैंड ले रहे हैं और हम उनके साथ हैं, वो हमारे साथ हैं।
The Indian government has denounced Pakistan's blatant hand in these attacks, vowing to take all necessary steps to eliminate terror elements. Security forces have intensified counter-terror operations, with multiple raids conducted in terror-infested areas. Police officials stated that Jaish-e-Mohammad, Lashkar-e-Taiba and Hizbul Mujahideen continue to be active in Kulgam and Shopian districts, orchestrating terror strikes at the behest of handlers across the border. To track down the perpetrators of this attack, a massive search operation was launched in Kulgam and its adjacent districts, with multiple arrests made. Security personnel continue to gather intelligence and tighten the noose around terror networks operating in the region. Despite Pakistan's repeated denials, the global community can no longer ignore its state-sponsored terrorism. From providing arms and training to shielding terror masterminds, Pakistan remains the epicenter of the jihadist network that continues to claim innocent lives in Jammu and Kashmir. This attack is part of a disturbing trend where Pakistan-backed terrorists deliberately target civilians to spread fear and prevent economic revival in the region. However, such barbaric terror acts will not succeed in undermining J&K's development journey, as the people of Kashmir refuse to let this conspiracy succeed.
The 2025 New Delhi World Book Fair became the stage for a powerful discussion on the deteriorating state of religious minorities in Bangladesh and the rise of Islamic militancy. The launch of the book Bangabandhu Bangladesh Unretained not only revisited the legacy of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman but also sparked critical conversations on the ongoing violence against Hindus, Christians and indigenous communities under Bangladesh's current political regime. Experts at the event warned of the growing influence of extremist elements and the danger of radicalization spilling beyond Bangladesh's borders. Here's a report.
The launch of Bangabandhu Bangladesh and Britain at the New Delhi World Book Fair brought renewed focus on Bangladesh's troubled history and its deepening crisis of religious persecution. Co-authored by Abu Sayyid and Priyajit Dev Sarkar, the book traces the birth of Bangladesh, the economic exploitation by Pakistan, the Great Famine, and the long road to global recognition following the 1971 Liberation War.
This book is a very important piece of non-fiction which we have written, and I find it very significant in today's day and age, because we all know what has happened in Bangladesh after the 5th of August and the legacy of the founding father of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, without whom the country called Bangladesh could not have existed in the world map.
However, beyond historical discourse, the discussion quickly turned to Bangladesh's present-day struggles, where rising Islamic radicalism threatens its pluralistic fabric. Under the Yunus government, extremist groups have gained ground, systematically targeting Hindus, Christians, Buddhists, and tribal communities, often with tacit state support or indifference.
After the 5th of August, we have seen open looting, arson, rape, even extrajudicial killings, targeting of the communities, and minority communities is not only Hindus. We have to remember Hindus, of course, is a very sizable minority community in Bangladesh, but there is Christians, there is Ahmadis, there is the Chakma, the tribal hill tracts, then there is the Adivasi, we call the Janajati, which is based on the northern part of Bangladesh. So there is a huge amount of different pluralistic identities in Bangladesh. So I think the narrative which we see globally, unfortunately, in my opinion, we see Bangladesh as predominantly one religion kind of base, but it is not. There are a lot of different layers in that country, and all of them are equal citizens with equal rights. So if this attempt to make it as one unit, as they call it, and to make sure that everybody follows the fundamentalist ideology, it is not going to work.
The plight of Bangladesh's minorities has worsened significantly since the political upheaval of August 5. Hindu homes have been torched, churches attacked and Buddhist temples vandalized, marking a sharp rise in religious persecution. The Yunus government, instead of ensuring justice, has cracked down on political opponents while allowing extremist forces to operate freely. The book launch event also underscored how Pakistan's deep state continues to exert influence in Bangladesh, using radical Islamist groups as proxies to destabilize the region.
We have to remember that during 71 as well, there were a significant portion of the community who were aligned with the two-nation theory, as you know, Pakistan is the state. The role of Pakistan, I think, is very dangerous, and especially not only for Bangladesh but in the entire neighborhood, because with the rise of the radical Islamization and terrorism activities which can easily spill over, and we know that the Pakistani deep state, I'm not against the people of Pakistan, but there is a very strong Pakistani deep state who still believes to bleed India through 1,000 cuts and all of these doctrines. So they will try to destabilize and get a footprint on the area, on the region. So we have to be very careful.
With economic instability, dwindling foreign reserves and rising extremism, Bangladesh's future remains uncertain. The international community continues to monitor the situation with growing calls for intervention to safeguard minority communities from systematic persecution. The discussions at the New Delhi World Book Fair sent a strong message. Bangladesh's identity as a secular, pluralistic nation is under severe threat, and unless urgent action is taken, the region could witness another humanitarian crisis.
In a historic move, the International Criminal Court (ICC) has applied for arrest warrants for top Taliban leaders, including Supreme Leader Hibatullah Akhundzada, accusing them of crimes against humanity for their relentless persecution of Afghan women and girls. This unprecedented step marks a major escalation in international legal efforts to hold the Taliban accountable for their systematic gender-based oppression. Our reports take a closer look at the charges and their implications.
The Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, announced on January 23rd that his office had formally applied for arrest warrants against Hibatullah Akhundzada and Abdul Hakim Haqqani, the Chief Justice of the Taliban's so-called Islamic Emirate. The charges: crimes against humanity under Article 7, 1H of the Rome Statute, persecution on gender grounds. The prosecutor's office has cited ongoing and systematic oppression of Afghan women and girls since the Taliban's return to power on August 15, 2021. The brutal regime has denied them access to education, employment, and basic freedoms, forcing them into a life of subjugation under the guise of religious rule.
After a period of deferral, my office has been independently and impartially examining alleged crimes committed against Afghan civilians. After a thorough investigation, and on the basis of evidence collected, my office submits that there are reasonable grounds to believe that the Supreme Leader of the Taliban, Hibatullah Akhundzada, and the Chief Justice of the so-called Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, Abdul Hakim Haqqani, bear criminal responsibility for the crime against humanity of persecution on gender grounds under Article 71H of the Rome Statute.
The investigation into Afghanistan has been one of the longest and most complicated in ICC history, first initiated in 2007. But after years of political and legal roadblocks, this marks the first substantial move towards justice for Afghan women who have endured relentless oppression. Since seizing control, the Taliban has methodically dismantled women's rights. In December 2022, women were banned from universities after previously being barred from secondary education. In May 2022, they were forced to wear full body coverings in public. By November 2022, they were prohibited from entering amusement parks. In July 2023, the Taliban shut down all beauty salons, one of the last public spaces where women could socialize freely. Furthermore, last year in December, the Taliban government said it will close all national and foreign non-governmental organizations or NGOs employing women in Afghanistan.
According to the agreement that was signed in Doha between the Taliban and the United States and some other countries, that they were to provide full equality of treatment as far as women are concerned. But they are not behaving according to that, and they had said that Taliban 2.0 is going to be very different from Taliban 1.0 when they were in power in the 1990s and they had persecuted. And right now also, whether it is repression, whether it is torture, whether it is not allowing women to go out at all, they are really treated as second-class citizens or worse. So I think the treatment is terrible, treatment is atrocious, particularly coming after, from 2001 till 2021, 20 years, the Afghan women have got much greater freedom.
International pressure has been mounting against the Taliban's draconian rule. The United Nations and numerous human rights organizations have labeled their actions as gender apartheid, and calls for formal recognition of this crime under international law have intensified. Despite international condemnation, the Taliban has remained defiant, dismissing these allegations and insisting that their interpretation of Islamic law dictates their governance. However, with ICC arrest warrants now pending, the pressure on the Taliban is intensifying.
It's a very significant move because I think it's not very often that ICC has really issued such warrants against, on the basis of gender. There have been a couple of cases, I think, when men have been forced to go into army, etc., and against women. But I think this is issuing warrants against the leaders of a particular country. In the current case, leader of Afghanistan, the Supreme Leader Haibatullah Akhundzadeh, and also the Chief Justice Haqqani. So this is very significant, and of course it could incentivize some of the other countries also, some of the other national courts also to take up this matter. The pressure on the Taliban is still on, but I think this is a very unique move. It's a very symbolic move, and it could increase the pressure on the Taliban to improve the condition of women.
Last year, Australia, Canada, Germany and the Netherlands took the Taliban to the International Court of Justice for gross and systematic violations of the UN Convention against Gender Discrimination. This ICC case adds another layer of legal scrutiny and may force the Taliban to reconsider its policies as it seeks legitimacy on the world stage. While many Afghan women have fled the country, those who remain face a bleak reality under the Taliban's rule. Activists say that cases like this are crucial to keeping their plight in global focus and ensuring justice is served.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We will be back next week with more news, views and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Pratiksha Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.